Ghost Tower of Bangkok, Sathorn Unique Tower, is one of the most haunted, most mysterious abandoned skyscrapers in all of Southeast Asia. But here's the thing that no one can seem to agree on. Was the death of a foreign backpacker inside this tower in 2014 an accident, or something else entirely? Because the official story and the eyewitness accounts, they don't quite line up. Stay with me, because tonight we're going inside. Sathorn Unique Tower sits in the heart of Bangkok, Thailand. It rises nearly 50 stories into the sky. Steel, concrete, and shattered glass, looming over the Chao Phraya River like a giant that simply stopped breathing. Construction began in 1990, during Thailand's economic boom. Developers envisioned it as a luxury residential complex, one of the most prestigious addresses in the city. Hundreds of units, rooftop amenities, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking one of Asia's most iconic rivers. But before a single resident ever moved in, the story of this building had already taken a dark turn. The developer behind Sathorn Unique, Rangsan Torsuan, was accused in 1993 of allegedly plotting to assassinate members of Thailand's Supreme Court. The case dragged on for years. He was ultimately acquitted in 2010. But the accusations cast a long shadow over the project. Investors grew cautious. Financing became unstable. And then, the 1997 Asian financial crisis hit. Funding collapsed overnight. Workers walked off the site. Equipment was left behind. Concrete was poured and simply abandoned. The building was never finished, never occupied, never officially opened. For nearly 3 decades, Sathorn Unique has stood empty. Locals began calling it the Ghost Tower, and the reasons go deeper than the abandonment alone. According to long-standing local belief, the land beneath the tower sits on a former cemetery. The spirits of those buried there, according to those who believe, were never properly appeased when construction began. Bangkok residents have avoided the building not just because of its physical danger, but because of what they believe lingers inside it. Over the years, urban explorers from around the world began making the pilgrimage to Bangkok specifically to climb it. Photographs of its crumbling hallways, its rusted staircases, its open balconies overlooking the Bangkok skyline. They circulated widely online. People described it as the most spectacular urban exploration site in Asia. The building, for all its danger, had become a destination. And destinations attract people. All kinds of people. Including, in the summer of 2014, a young foreign backpacker traveling through Southeast Asia. He was adventurous, curious, the kind of person who wanted to feel the world, rather than just photograph it through a bus window. According to reports, he had been traveling through the region for several weeks before arriving in Bangkok. He came the way thousands of backpackers do, drawn by the food, the temples, the sheer, relentless energy of the city. And somewhere along the way, he heard about the Ghost Tower. He wasn't alone in that curiosity, but he could not have known what that curiosity would cost him. Let's walk through what we know, step by step. July 2014, Bangkok, Thailand. According to reports, the young man entered Sathorn Unique Tower during this period. Entry into the building was technically illegal. The structure is private property, fenced off, with posted warnings. However, enforcement was deeply inconsistent. According to multiple accounts from urban explorers and travel writers who visited Sathorn Unique during this time. Local vendors operating near the tower's entrance allegedly charged tourists a small cash fee, sometimes the equivalent of just a few US dollars, to be shown unofficial entry points. This was, according to reports, an open secret in the backpacker community. This detail matters. We'll come back to it. The stairwells inside Sathorn Unique are dark, almost completely dark in sections, according to those who have documented their visits. The floors are covered in debris, broken glass, fallen concrete, the remnants of nearly 3 decades of neglect. Some staircases simply end, open onto nothing. Floors have partially collapsed in certain sections of the building. There are no safety rails in many areas, no lighting, no markers to tell you where it is safe to step, and where the floor simply gives way. It is by any measure an extraordinarily dangerous place to be. According to reports, the young man had been climbing the tower, allegedly with others nearby, though the specifics of who was present remain unclear. Some accounts reference a group. Others suggest he may have separated from companions at some point during the ascent. At some point during that climb, he fell. He did not survive. According to reports, emergency responders were called to the scene. Thai police arrived and conducted a preliminary investigation. The official finding was accidental death, a tragic consequence of entering a dangerous, condemned building without authorization. Case closed. Or was it? Here is where things become complicated, and I want to be careful, because I am not making allegations. I am simply asking the questions that, according to various reports and independent observers, were never fully answered. The entry point question. If the tower is secured, fenced, and access is illegal, how did visitors enter so easily, so consistently, for so many years? According to reports, the informal fee system near the tower's entrance was not hidden. It was known. It was documented by travel bloggers and urban explorers who wrote openly about it. A condemned, structurally unstable, nearly 50-story building, and tourists were allegedly being guided inside for the price of a street meal. Who was benefiting? And where did accountability lie when something went wrong? The investigation timeline. Thai authorities reportedly concluded their investigation quickly. For the death of a foreign national in a high-profile location, some observers noted that the speed of the official conclusion felt premature. No extensive forensic documentation of the scene appears to have been made publicly available. The death did not prompt any formal review of the tower's accessibility. It did not lead to meaningful enforcement changes. Visitors continued to enter the building after the incident, largely unimpeded. The developer's shadow. It is worth remembering that this building's history did not begin with the financial crisis. It began with a developer who allegedly stood accused of plotting against members of Thailand's highest court. A building entangled in legal disputes, financial collapse, and allegedly criminal allegations, left standing in the middle of one of Asia's most visited cities, accessible to anyone willing to pay a few dollars at the gate. That is not a ghost story. That is a systemic failure. And then there is the land itself. Sathorn Unique is considered by many Bangkok residents to be deeply, genuinely haunted, not in the theatrical sense that tourists seek out, but in the way that makes locals cross the street rather than walk past after dark. The belief that the tower was built on sacred burial ground is not fringe mythology. It is widely held. And whether you believe in the supernatural or not, it speaks to something real. The sense that this place was built on foundations that were wrong from the very beginning. Some urban explorers who have documented their visits describe unexplained sounds on empty floors, shadows at the edge of vision, a persistent, unshakable feeling of being watched. Again, believe what you will, but these accounts are consistent. They come from people who went in as skeptics and came out quieter than they arrived. As of the time of this recording, Sathorn Unique Tower still stands on the Bangkok skyline. Its future remains uncertain. Demolition has been proposed multiple times. Renovation plans have surfaced and quietly disappeared. The ownership remains tangled in legal and financial dispute. The tower endures, much like the questions surrounding what happened inside it. A young traveler came to Bangkok full of curiosity and wonder. He was drawn, like so many others, to a place that was beautiful in its decay. He deserved to come home. The official story says it was an accident, a foreseeable tragedy in an unauthorized place, and maybe that is the complete truth. But I keep coming back to this question, and I want to leave it with you tonight. When a city allows a condemned, nearly 50-story building to remain openly accessible for years, when vendors allegedly profit from directing tourists inside, when a foreign national dies and the investigation closes quickly with no public documentation released, who bears responsibility? Is it the traveler for taking the risk? The vendors for enabling access? The property owner for not securing the site? The city for not enforcing its own laws? The government for allowing a legally and financially disputed building to stand untouched for 30 years? I genuinely don't know the answer, and I'm not sure anyone has ever been formally asked to give one. Tell me what you think in the comments. I read every single one. And if you've been to Bangkok, if you've stood on the street and looked up at the ghost tower rising over the river, tell me what it felt like. Because some buildings carry weight that has nothing to do with concrete.